And the big picture is democracy going to prevail as a way for human beings to operate politically?
That question being posed by experts today as Russia continues its escalation on its border with Ukraine. A possible Russian invasion coming after sanctions by several Western nations began to take hold.
But what does it mean for us here in the Valley? Channel 5's Rudy Mireles monitoring events overseas. He joins us live from our Brownsville Bureau with more. Hey, Rudy.
Several different types of impacts that this could have across the valley and the nation, from already high gas prices rising again to cybersecurity attacks on all levels of government and on all sizes of different businesses. But it's more than just our pocketbooks. Officials and experts believe that this will be a true test as to how we operate as a nation. Today, the Biden administration officially imposing sanctions on Russia, beginning with the critical Nord Stream 2 natural gas pipeline.
We have ensured that this is an $11 billion prize investment that is now a hunk of steel sitting at the bottom of the sea.
As inflation levels rise, Americans could see a second hit to their pocketbooks. The possible price of helping those looking to our country is an example, says Congressman Vicente Gonzalez.
There's always a possibility of an issue being impacting our country because of sanctions on Russia. But we got to stick to our American principles and assuring that democracy continues to be the hope of the world.
Professor David Fisher, a Russian history expert, says this is a turning point for all countries around the world.
This is a place where really democracy, I think, is running up against the idea of authoritarianism.
Fisher says this is not a new problem. From 2012 to 2014, he and his family were living in Ukraine's capital city of Kiev. Mass protests leading then Putin-friendly President Viktor Yanukovych to flee to Russia.
Ukrainians supported the ties with the EU because they were interested in getting rid of corruption and helping employment, and they didn't like it that the police came out and beat their kids on the street.
The power vacuum giving Putin the avenue to invade Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula, and later fomenting separatist uprisings in eastern Ukraine.
They're trying to expand their sphere of influence, and the only way to do that is for their neighbors to also be authoritarian kleptocracies.
And as Russia postures for war in those separatist regions 8 years later, Fisher says those Ukrainians living there, now fearing for their lives, are similar to us here in the Valley.
Just imagine if the United States said, well, we'd like to, you know, the Valley and northern Mexico are so similar, let's just extend the border, right? There's economic resources there, we'd control the river and everything else. Or why wouldn't Mexicans maybe say, oh, South Texas is so similar to northern Mexico, why don't we just extend the border?
Now, it's expected that these issues will continue for quite some time. Fisher says that historically and generally speaking, Russian culture, everything is looked at as a zero-sum game, meaning there are clear winners and clear losers, and there is no room for negotiation. With that being said, these Western sanctions on Russia have really backed Putin into a corner politically, because if he moves on from doing what he's doing now, it could make him look weak in front of his people. Live in Brownsville, Rudy Mireles, Channel 5 News at 6.